Hello, it's Mark from HeroTech Systems, and you're welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. In this video, we are going to look at how to configure Dhcp services with a server in Cisco Packet Tracer. This is lesson 6 of the Cisco Packet Tracer tutorial for beginners. So without further ado, let us go right into the Cisco Packet Tracer interface and do the configuration. So this is the Packet Tracer interface, and we had already configured this topology in the last tutorial, which was how to configure Dhcp services on a Cisco router. And if we go into the devices, we'll see that the devices still carry the IP address that was assigned by the Dhcp server. So this is 10.12 assigned by the Dhcp server based on the Dhcp configuration that was put on the router. Remember, we excluded an IP address range of 10.0.0.1 to 10.0.0.10. So that is why my first device here is having an IP address of 10.0.0.11. So if you have not been following, you're new, you don't know how we built this topology, the link to all the lessons are in the description below. So let's get right into it. So the first thing we need to do is to remove the Dhcp configuration from the router and move it to the server, which is going to act as our Dhcp server. So we're going to go into the router interface. So I'm going to just exit. So let's show run and see. Okay, so show run and see. Yeah, so you can see my Dhcp excluded address. I can see my Dhcp pool. So we're going to remove the configuration. Now to remove the configuration, all we need to do is to negate the configuration using the no command. So I'm just going to say no. So this is the command. No IP Dhcp excluded address 10.0.0.1 10.0.0.10, and then I do the same thing for the pool. So I'm just going to remove the pool and say no IP Dhcp pool. The name of the pool is LAN. So if I do my show run again, you can see that the command is gone. You can see it's gone. Let's scroll up. So it doesn't have the Dhcp command anymore. So you can see it is gone. So what we'll do now is go into our device. Let's go into our device and see if the devices try to rebroadcast for Dhcp address. Let's see what's going to happen. So we're just going to rebroadcast and see what's going to happen. Good. So let's see. You see, Dhcp failed. A paper is being used. So it's assigning an automatic private address that is given to Microsoft Microsoft devices. It's not all I can say about it. It's not an IP address that you want to have on on your device. It's just tells you that something is wrong on your network. So what we're going to do now is reconfigure. We're going to configure the server now for our IP address. We're going to go into the server, remove this address, then we'll come to services. We want to configure. I can see different services, HTTP, DHCP, and so on and so forth, but what we're concerned about is DHCP. So I'll come to DHCP. The first thing that we want to do is to turn on the service. The service is by default is off, so we'll turn it on. We'll leave the server pool name as it is. This is the default server pool. You can't change the name because it's default. So we're going to configure our gateway. Remember, our gateway is 10, that's default router, .0.0.1. Our DNS server is 8.8.8.8. So this is how you configure IP address exclusion on the server. You don't have to enter an IP exclusion command. You just state where you want the server to start assigning IP address from. So using the start IP address, we say 11. So it means that automatically from 1 to 10 is going to be reserved. So the subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. Now the maximum number of users, so based on your LAN requirements, so if you have, if you're going to have 200 users on your LAN, 250 users, you want to, put the figure according to the number of users that you have. So let's say 256. Let's say we have 200 users. So just to for scalability, I'm going to make it 256 in case we have new users that pop up. So we'll save this. We want to make sure it is saved, because if it's not saved properly, it will mess up with the configuration. Now the next thing we want to do is to assign the server an IP address, and it's standard practice. I always recommend that when there are some devices in the network, when you create a network, there are some devices that you have to assign a static IP address. I mean, that is the obvious reason why we are reserving some IP address, so that we can give certain devices on our network static IP addresses, meaning addresses that don't change. Dynamic, it means that if a device gets an IP address from a DHCP server, now when that lease time has expired or something happens, the device goes off and comes back on, it's going to rebroadcast and say, I need an IP address from the server. Now the server might have leased out the IP address it gave it to you before to another device. So it means that the IP address is going to get next when it comes back on might not be the same IP address it got before. So in a network like this, where these devices are going to reach this server, are going to be reaching this server for IP address, you don't want the IP address of this server to change all the time, because it's just going to mess up your network. So you want to give this guy a static IP address. So we're going to configure that now. So we'll come here. Now the gateway, statically, you can see I've ticked the static. So under settings, global settings, I've ticked the static IP address mode, so that I can configure the gateway. So the default gateway is 10.0.0.1. My DNS server is 8.8.8.8. So I'm going to come here to configure the interface. So my IP address is 10.0.0. .10. Oh, sorry. .10. And yes, so using the default. So that is it. So we're going to now test and see if they will get an IP address. So let's rebroadcast. We're rebroadcasting. It's getting an IP from the server, but so we're going to rebroadcast. So you see it's getting 10.0.0.4. I'm going to come back to the server and ensure that this configuration is saved. So I'll go back, just ensure that everything is correct. So I'll save the configuration properly, and then I'll rebroadcast for IP address. It's still having okay, so you see the start IP has changed, so I'm going to make it 11 and then save it. Good. So I'll rebroadcast. So let's see. Amazing. So just ensure that it's saved properly, and then make sure the start IP is where you want it to begin from, and then save it properly. And so you can see that's assigned all the parameters: 10.0.0.11, 255.0.0, 10.1 as the gateway, and then the DNS server is 8.8.8. So the same thing here, and then the same thing here, 10.0.0.13. So if I want to test my connectivity, I can go to my command prompt and say ping 10.0.0.13. So I'm getting replies. So this is how to configure Dhcp services using a server in Cisco Packet Tracer. If you have found this video helpful and useful, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. To grow the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell, so whenever we upload a new lesson, which we do almost on a daily basis, you will be notified, and then we can all expand our knowledge in Cisco Packet Tracer. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have a problem with you're new to Cisco networking and you do not understand the technologies, I have a guide for beginners, a summarized guide for beginners in the description. The link to that guide is in the description below. You can click to download. Thank you for watching. God bless you.